Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raykel. This podcast is to help you experience being blessed that transcends a mere hashtag. Now, let me add my disclaimer as I always do. I'm not a preacher, a prophet, or a Bible scholar, but I am a God-worshiping, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, New Thought Christian who believes that God blesses us according to our faith and how we work his principles. So if you're ready to be encouraged, enlightened, and entertained, then you're in the right place. I'm broadcasting on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network, a nonprofit charitable radio broadcast with a mission to empower, encourage, and educate. If you are enjoying the Blessed Podcast, please donate at www.wytv7.org. Today's podcast is brought to you by Tolson's Publishing, and we have a new book, Ren's Affirmation, God is good and so am I. Now, if that didn't touch your spirit, or you need to get it for you too, not just for your kids, because we are made in the image and likeness of God, and whatever attributes we say about God, we can say them about ourselves, because everybody's always saying God is good all the time. Well, I need y'all to change that. God is good and so am I. All right, you can go get the book at www.tolsonbooks.com/shop. That'll be up on your up on the screen, tolsonbooks.com/shop. All right, it's April and we are talking about money. I was telling my son, I say, when I think of April showers, I think about money, it's like making it rain with money. So I was like, oh, this is a good time to talk about money. Right. So we talked about a money mindset, and now we're going to talk about money management. Or as my guest, Kevin Turner, who happens to be my brother-in-law, he likes to call it stewardship. We're going to talk more about that. But let me give you a little bit about Kevin. He is the president of Peak Level Advisors, a representative of Money Concepts, an independent financial planning organization founded in 1979 on the idea that financial planning should be for everyone. Kevin considers himself a personal wealth navigator. Okay, I like that. Personal wealth navigator. And that's something we're going to talk about it, but we should be thinking about wealth, not just managing the little bit of money that we have to make it day by day. So without further ado, Kevin, thank you for joining us and helping us to navigate our wealth.
Thanks so much for having me on. Looking forward to it.
So, my first question, because you talked about stewardship, and when I think of stewardship, it may just be me. It may not be the other Christians out there. It could just be me. All I think about is churches want me to tithe and pay offering and whatever other things, the building fund and all that stuff. It seems like stewardship is always just about giving money to the church. And I never really felt like stewardship was about me and my house, except for the fact that they wanted me to give my money to the church. So please explain what you mean by you believe that good stewardship is the cornerstone of financial management.
Well, stewardship, and I think in the church, people think of stewardship and they think of money only, but stewardship is about way more than just money. It's basically about being responsible with everything that you do. It's about being a wise manager. And what I tell people when I'm meeting with them in my own personal practice is that stewardship is about doing the right thing. And I feel like if you do the right things, you get the right results. And I always tell people it may take longer than you want it to, but I think doing the right thing always works out in your favor.
That's good. Wait, because I have to stop you, because at the church that I go to now, we talk about right thoughts, right reactions, right actions. I mean, and then what you're saying, so stewardship really is about doing the right thing, thinking the right thing, reacting the right way, making the right action. So yeah, I'm all for this stewardship now. Go ahead.
Okay. And like I said, it's not just about money, it's about everything, but we tend to think of it in terms of money. Mm-hmm. And since that's what we're talking about today, I'll kind of talk about it in that context. And one of my favorite scriptures on stewardship is from Luke 16:10 and 11. Says that whoever is faithful with very little will also be faithful with much. And so if you want God to trust you with worldly wealth, then, or if you want him to be trustworthy, or have you to be trustworthy, then you have to be able to handle what he has given you. That's basically what that scripture is talking about. Because a lot of times people think, if I had more money, everything would be great. Well, if you don't manage what you have now, then you haven't shown yourself to be worthy of having more. So God is always asking us, he's testing us and saying, look, I've given you this. I want to see what can you do with it. And then if you are faithful with that, then you will get more.
Yeah, so it's like the parable when the person that only got the one talent and he buried it because he didn't want to lose it. And so he took his away and gave it to somebody else because he wasn't faithful over that one that he had. Because we also, I can say that I have been guilty of looking at how God is blessing somebody else, how somebody else is, living a blessed life, and like, man, if I could only sing, because I can't sing. I can't.
I'm with you on that. I can't sing a lick.
But if I could just sing, I could be doing so much. But I have to use the talent that I have, and he gave me a talent to talk and to write. So that's what I have to use it for now. And I think what you're saying, so it's like it's not just about money; it's about being steward over everything. Because when we really think about how we get money, we usually get money because using our talents and our gifts.
Yep, exactly.
But we're not good stewards over it, then why we think we're supposed to have money?
Exactly.
That's deep.
Right on. And I'll just throw this out for your listeners. A great book that's very simple that talks about stewardship is called The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a really quick read, very easy to understand, but it really breaks things down in a good, simple way. So I definitely recommend reading that book if you want to kind of get a better feel for what stewardship's all about.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So, all right, you're saying we have to do the right thing. So let's just talk a little bit about like the concepts that we always think about when we think about money management and doing the right thing. So the first thing that, because we did talk about the church and we, I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, all God's children, but let's talk about tithing first, about doing the right thing. So my question is, because I do believe in tithe, and I do believe in giving the 10% off the top, but in like a time like this right now,
right?
Everybody's strapped. If they're not working, they don't know when their next money comes. What would you say to them about tithing right now?
Okay, so just to be clear, so everybody is on the same page, what the tithe actually is, because some people have different interpretations of what a tithe is. The tithe is 10% of what you bring in, everything. The tithe is just a tenth, and that's kind of the standard that God asks us to live up to. Now, beyond the tithe, you can do offerings. So you always hear about free will offering. So the offering is on top of the tithe. It's not in place of or in conjunction with the tithe. So with that being said, in situations like this, and just in general, we always play this game with ourselves of, I've only got so much to deal with, and I want to give, but I got to make sure all my stuff is taken care of. And if you've ever heard people talk about living off the 90, if you treat the tithe, like you said, as coming off the top and just do that, you'll find that you can live with what's left over. The other piece of it that I think is really critical to understand is that when you tithe, you are blessed. And I'll just share a story with you. This is from many years ago. So at that time, I wasn't as mature about tithing. I was probably close to 10% of my gross, but I wasn't all the way there. And so we had a stewardship campaign at our church. And the pastor kind of threw out a challenge and said, give a little bit more. And the thing that he said that stuck with me was give until it hurts a little bit. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm going to take the challenge. And since I was already that close, I'm like, I'm going to actually do the tithe for real. And when I did it, it was amazing the things that started happening. It wasn't just like money coming in, but just blessings in all kinds of ways were coming in. And it was like affirmation that God was saying, you've been obedient, you're doing what I asked you to do, and you're being blessed as a result of it. Now, we don't tie to be blessed,
Right.
but
Okay.
we tie to be obedient, and God blesses us in return. And so we always have to remember that at the end of the day, anything that we have, it's all God's anyway. So it's all God's money. We're just giving him back a tenth of what he has given to us.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess I know people say it's about faith. It's saying that I believe that he got me.
Mm-hmm.
So that 10%, I may as well give it because he's gonna give me more than that little 10%.
Exactly.
And then okay, so I have to, for people out there that may be collecting unemployment. I'm just saying because people not
Yeah,
getting
it's real. It's
it's
real.
real. So
Yeah.
people might be getting that $600 in unemployment. It may be more, maybe less, whatever. But you still suggest that they, even though it's not something that they earn, but it's coming in, that they need to pay the 10% on that.
I'll just say I would,
You would.
because it is money that came in. It didn't come in as a result directly of your work.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, the only reason why you're getting unemployment is because you worked and now you're not working. So they've got a fund set aside for that purpose. So they're paying you while you're waiting to work. So I would look at it from that point of view. And like I always say, you can't ever go wrong making God a part of your plan.
I like that. You can't go wrong making God a part of your plan. And then you know what? For the people out here there who aren't Christians or who don't believe in tithing, this conversation right here may not be for you, because I don't believe that anybody should be forced into doing anything, because the Bible says that we should be cheerful givers.
Right.
So if it's I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to try to make anybody, because I struggle. I'm just open moment. I struggle because of my finances, and I'm like, do I really want to give? But I think right now is a time that we should think about it, because we want the church house to be open. Even if we can't go there right now, the church still got to pay their mortgage.
Yeah.
Church still got to pay rent if they rent. So think about that in this time right now, where you want to hold on to the money, but in 2 months or in 1 month, when you want to go back to church and you don't have a church to go to because the church can pay the mortgage or the church can pay the rent. That's what the tithe is for, is to take care of the church so we can have somewhere to go. Okay, so we got tithing. Let's talk about, to me, like the second biggest thing, as for a Christian, the tithing is probably first, and we have to get that. We'll get it right eventually, even if we do it halfway, we get it right eventually. But budgeting. Yeah. Oh my gosh, budgeting. You cannot be a good steward over, because a lot of people I found, and I'm not a money person. I do not profess to be that. I wrote the book Why Church Folk Poor, and I'm church folk. I always tell people that I wasn't talking negatively about other people. I was talking about me, the church folk too. But it's a lot of people that don't even know how much money they have or how much they make. They don't know how much they spending. Money just falling through their hands.
Yep.
Talk about it.
Okay. So budgeting is one of those things that tends to be either you really appreciate it or you hate it, because it gets a negative rap. People think budgeting and they think restriction. It's like, well, if I budget, I got to limit the stuff I can do. But in reality, it's just the opposite. What you're doing is you're saying, this is what I want to do with the income that I have coming in. So it's putting you in control of how you are using your money.
Wait, let me stop you for a second. So Lorenz is like that. My son, he's 25, millennial. He don't like the word budget. He likes to call it a spending plan.
You can call it what you. In fact, I don't call it a budget either. Okay. I talk about managing your cash flow, because ultimately that's what it comes down to: is cash coming in, cash going out, and how do you use that? Okay. And really, if you think about it, how you manage that cash flow is the key to everything that you're trying to do financially. I call it the fuel to your financial life. Because if you don't handle that well, it's probably going to be very difficult to build anything that you want to build. unless you just happen to fall into some money.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
if you fall into some money and you still have poor habits, chances are you're not going to have it long. And that's why you hear about people who like won the lottery and then years later they're broke. You've got to have the right habits, and you got to have a certain amount of discipline in
Yeah.
order to make it work. You know,
Kevin,
people talk.
look, wait, let me stop you. You know, I always tell you, I don't need you right now because I don't have a whole lot to manage. But as soon as I win the lottery, you my first call because I don't want to be a broke lottery winner. As soon as I win the lottery, I'm calling you, Kevin. I'm calling you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine. It's
I
fine.
just like to let my audience know who I am because these are things because a lot of church folk think it's against against God to play the lottery. I don't agree with that. I'm like, God, everything God made is good, and winning the lottery is a good thing. I don't understand. Anyway, that's just
The question becomes, what do you do with it when you win?
Yeah, and then I'm not spending my time money on the lottery ticket that way because I buy one or two. That's money. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. Go ahead, finish talking about your.
Okay. So when you think about budgeting, you always hear about living within your means, and that's important. And in times like this, you really get to see how important that is. People in large part live paycheck to paycheck. I forget the stat, but it's something like 2/3 of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. So it gives you minimal margin for error when you're living paycheck to paycheck. You would be better served to have some wiggle room. Now, granted, you may not make as much money as you would like to make to cover the costs that you have. And, with the way wages are and the way that they're not growing as much as they probably should, it can be difficult. But what you got to do, again, going back to that same thing we talked about in the beginning, manage what you have to the best of your ability. And try to ensure that not only are you not living beyond your means, but you're also saving something, because that's really important.
So that was the next thing, savings. Okay, but wait, before we go to savings, when you talk about living in your means, and I just want to be like clear, I have been out of work since March 30th, 2019. I made 6-figure salary. With what I'm getting, what's coming in now is half of what I made, but my bills are still getting paid. So what I was telling myself when I was like, well, you weren't ever living above your means, because cutting my salary in half and still being able to pay all my necessary bills, that meant I am living in debt. What it did mean I couldn't, shop.
Couldn't do some of the extras.
So I couldn't do a lot of other stuff. But it showed me that I was living in my means. And I think that even in a time like this, the people have to really realize that there are some things they may need to cut.
Right, exactly. And I mean, if you think about it, most people, no matter where they are with their finances, if they make more money, chances are they're going to spend more money.
Yeah.
Because the way our brains are wired, when we see extra, we're just kind of thinking, okay, that means I got more money to spend. So what you want to try to do, again, going back to saving, is having that mindset of paying yourself first. You do that so that it takes it out of your view. When you see it, you're likely to spend it. If you can send that out so you don't see it and it's being put to productive use, again, you'll find a way to live on what's left over.
Okay, so Kevin, what is the percentage? So we got 10% for God. What percentage are we paying ourselves?
I don't like to give a percentage. You hear rules of thumb like 10%, 15%, 20%. All that's good. The more, the better. But what I always tell people is, wherever you are, save something, because you want to get in the habit of saving. You might not be able to save as much as you want to at this moment, but hopefully over time, your circumstances will allow you to save more. And if you've gotten in the habit of doing that, then you're going to be more inclined to put more away for yourself.
I like that. Save what you can. No hard and fast.
You should definitely set some goals for what you're going to save. I mean, when you think about saving and putting that money away, you want to do it with a purpose. You want to know what it is I'm trying to get to in the end, so you can figure out realistically how much should I be saving on a regular basis to get there.
So what
Again,
kind of
you
things
might
should we
not be
be
able.
saving?
What was that?
What should we be saving? What kind of things should we be saving for? Like, I know everybody always talk about emergency fund. So if I was going to save for an emergency fund, how many, how much money, based on my salary or whatever, how much should I be saving?
So for an emergency fund, and again, there are rules of thumb out there. It's a personal decision, but I kind of believe in the 3 to 6 months of expenses, not necessarily 3 to 6 months of your income, because like you were talking about before, your income is not necessarily dictating what you need to spend. You probably will end up spending it. But if you look at what your actual expenses are, and you might even want to look at what those necessary expenses are, because that's the stuff you've got to be able to take care of if something happens and you don't have the income coming in.
Right.
So the rationale behind the 3 to 6 months is if I were to lose my job, it's going to give me enough time, hopefully, to be able to get over that hump and then find employment and have income coming in again. Now, on top of that, you're also looking at other emergencies and unexpected things that may come up that you want to have money set aside for too.
Right.
If your car breaks down, you don't want to have to, you might put it on a credit card to start, but you don't want to leave it on the credit card and be paying that extra interest.
Wait a minute. I got to stop you for a second. Because we got 10 minutes and you said the magic word credit card. Dave Ramsey is a popular, everybody's church used his financial piece and all that. He about no debt, no debt, no debt.
Right.
Tell me, is that something reasonable, like to say that I don't, except for maybe my house, but is it reasonable for me to say I'm not going to buy a car until I have $20,000 to go buy a car? Or is it reasonable to say, let me go ahead and get that loan so I can have a car so I can get to work?
Right.
Or even, with college, and people like, oh, my kid can't go to college because we don't want to get in debt. But then they don't go to college and then they can't make the kind of money that they could have made had they gotten a student loan. So, I'm like, we got a few minutes. Just talk about debt real quick.
Okay. So when it comes to debt, not all debt is created equal. So you mentioned some things like a mortgage. There are very few people that are going to be able to pay cash for a house. So a mortgage, in a lot of ways, is kind of a necessity. You probably, unless you're in a city where you got great public transportation, you're probably going to need a car. Not a whole lot of people are going to have all that money available to pay cash for a car. Education, again, that's another one. So you got to look at what the debt is being used for and what its utility is going to be for you in the future. And then you can make a decision as to whether that makes sense. What you don't want to do is take on so much debt that you overextend yourself. And then the other thing you don't want to do is rack up consumer debt. That's the stuff that is really painful. And you end up buying stuff that doesn't hold its value and you pay for it multiple times with all that interest. So try to minimize the credit card debt. It's not to say you can't put something on a credit card, but what you want to do is pay it off when the bill comes.
Okay.
And that way you're not paying all that extra.
Right. That's, what, I hate that we might have to do some more because we didn't even talk about investing. And but we did talk about saving, but it's like saving the money in the bank. We know you don't get no interest from it. You may as well have it under your mattress because there's no interest. So we do have to start thinking about investing so our money can grow a little bit in for our savings. So we might have to have another conversation, a part 2 or something, where we talk about investing. But if they want to find you, where can they find you?
So my website is www.peakleveladvisors.com. That's PEAKLEVEL advisors.com. That's my website. I'm on Facebook at Peak Level Advisors. On Twitter, I do some posts periodically. Periodically there is my name with my middle initial, Kevin S. Turner. LinkedIn, actually, I can't even remember what my LinkedIn handle is, but you can find me on those social platforms. So that's probably the best way to reach out to me.
And so for people who don't have a lot of wealth right now, when do you say we should call a person like you to help us? Do we call you when we are struggling and don't have a whole lot, or do we wait until things get a little bit better? Or do we wait till, like I was saying, wait till we win a lot? But like, when is the best time for regular, everyday people to call somebody like you to help us?
And that's a great question. I think our industry more so caters to those who are wealthier. I've really chosen to make my practice about working with just average everyday people. I have some people who are more well off, but I enjoy working with people who are just doing the day-to-day things and they're trying to make the best decisions possible. So I think any time is the right time because, it's kind of like we talk about in the church. Do I want to get myself together before I come to church? Or do I want to go to church so the Lord can get me together? With your finances, you might not have the necessary acumen to know all the things that you need to do. So you may need somebody to be your coach, your navigator, to kind of help you work through the things that you need to do, whether that's issues that you currently have, goals that you want to achieve. And so having somebody with expertise that's objective that can help guide you in that direction, I don't think it's ever too late or too soon to do that.
Oh, that is good. I like how you said that. It's just like when people, I'm gonna wait to go to church when I get myself right. Yeah. So I guess that's the same thing. It's like you're gonna wait till you get your money right. Then you don't need me. You need me now, so you get your money right. Exactly. I get it. I got it. Okay, Kevin, I'm gonna make an appointment. Goodness gracious.
I knew that was for you too.
You already know. Because you know what? Because like I said, why are we poor? Why are church folk poor? But it's a lot because we don't follow principles and, like the tithing, saving. I mean, and talking to people who know better than what we know. Right. It's finding the right people because it's all about that. And before we go, I just have to say this. One thing I got from a minister about money. It takes relationships. Look at your relationships, and that's how your money comes. If your money ain't right, it's probably because your relationships aren't right. And one of those relationships that we need is a relationship with somebody who knows about money. Yeah. We got to find those people so we can get our money. So because God don't do nothing like really separate. We came in this world by ourselves. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Everybody had a mama to push them out. You know what I'm saying? Yep. The doctor or somebody was there to catch it. Everybody had somebody. We all need somebody. So we have to check our relationships. And the one relationship that you might want to get is what you call yourself? A personal wealth navigator. Kevin can't help everybody, but for the people that are there, please go to Kevin so he can help us because I need to be writing the book. The next book would be like, how we got money, how we got rich, how we got wealth, not rich, wealth.
Yeah, there you go.
How we have accumulated wealth with our tithing and our savings and with our personal wealth navigator. Yeah. All right, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. I hope this helped everybody. Please, please, please just remember that whatever God has done for other people, he can do the same thing for you. He's not just blessing people like Beyonce and Tyler Perry. He's ready to bless all of us, but what do we have to do? That's what we need to be in meditation and prayer about. What do we need to do? Who are the people that we need to connect with so we can start living in our wealthy place? Thanks, Kevin. Until next week, everybody be blessed.